Hi, folks. I just listened to a song, or just have been listening to worship, and there's a song called "Love Me Like You Do" by Eddie Golden. And as I was listening to that, I felt something very, very strong. It was basically saying, unless that song can be to you about God, then you can't walk out His ways and will, because you can only do that through love. But as I said before, and that is true. That is true. Because I've said before, look, the reality is, for most people who have been in church, they're going to be in that situation where they've got to accept that most of what they believe and understand is a perversion and a watered down of truth. And so therefore they have to be willing to let all of that go, all of it go, and to let God put in what is truth and only what is truth, and gradually build that up. Most people can't do it, because the only way you can do that is through love, because you're putting what God is saying above what's going on in your own mind. Because in your own mind, your mind will be saying to you, are you bloody stupid? You've trusted in this thing for the whole of your life. Why are you now willing to let it go? And that's what your friends and family and church members will be telling you. You are insane. What are you doing letting all this stuff go? It's what you've had and what you believed in for the whole of your blinking Christian life, for the whole of your time with God. But that's the point. You were never with God. All the time you had this perversion and watered down, you were never really with God. You were with church. That's what you were with, church, not God. But they believe it's God, so they'll be saying to you that what you believed before was you with God. And you're willing to let that go because of what you believe in now. You will have that battle, and what's going to win the battle is love. Nothing else is going to win the battle other than love. Love for God and understanding you're supposed to be in love with God. As I say, I'm going to say this again, right? The reality is I'm going to say this again because I don't think people understand this point. If the highest degree of love that you can have is being in love, right? If that's the highest degree of love that you can actually feel, then if you're in love with your husband or wife, but you only love God, then you're putting your husband and wife above God. You're putting your love for your husband and wife above your love for God. Therefore, you'll always put them before your relationship with God. You always will. But if you understand you're supposed to love your husband or wife, but you're supposed to be in love with God, because again, God has to be the highest, right? So therefore, have understanding of that. If God is supposed to be the highest, then the highest, you have to put him. Putting him in the position of love, you love God. That's part of the reason why the church is where it is, because people say, well, I love God. I love the Lord. Yeah, the problem is you love the Lord, but you don't care about doing what he says. If what he says means something different to what church says. So when church says it has to be all about Yeshua, or Jesus, as they say, and he says, no, it has to be all about the Father, you have to take no notice of what he said and choose what the church thinks instead. Right? But love says, no, I can't do that. Love says, no, I can't ignore what he said. Basically, what did he say? If you love me, you obey me. But clearly that was never enough. But again, I don't think he said, if you love me, as in the way we see love for friendships and love. Yeah. I think he was talking about something far, far deeper, far, far higher. So therefore in love. Then you would obey. Why will you obey? Because you're doing it out of love. It's not out of duty. You never obey out of duty. You never obey because you're serving. Servants will obey to a certain degree until it pushes them to a point where they can't obey anymore. Love, there's no point where you won't obey anymore. Love says that you will obey. Even if it means your own life, you will obey. You're supposed to be in love with God. You're not supposed to love God. And until you are in love with God, until you can listen to that song or songs like it, Let Me Love You by Ellie Goulding, and it can break your heart because you understand what it's about, that to you it's speaking about God, then, yeah, obviously, you're basically flipping a coin to see where you're going to go. Certainly, if you're going to be led by church, then basically you're flipping a coin, and most of the time that coin is weighted. If heads are God and tails is hell, then most of the time it's going to fall on tails. But that's the point. Those who are chosen, those who are the 25%, again, that's only it's 25% of ground. So those who are 25% of ground that will bear fruit. You are supposed to be in love with God. You are supposed to care about more. You're supposed to care a damn sight more about what God says and what people think God says and what the church says. Yeah, they believe that that's supposed to be the situation. Yeah, you won't care about that anymore. None of that is going to interest you. When they make it all about Jesus, you're going to know, first of all, that wasn't his name. And secondly, he said that you're supposed to pray to the Father, you're supposed to give the glory to the Father, and you're supposed to be worshipping the Father. You will know that, and it will be burning within you. And it will matter. And it will matter to the point that you will find it being incredibly difficult being in places that do that. I know because I do. And I know because I'm in love with God. I don't love God. I'm in love with God. In the past, I was very heavy on the fact that I wanted a wife. Now, I'm pretty sure that I probably won't get one, and it doesn't matter. In any way, shape, or form, it does not matter. I have a relationship with Father God, and he's my dad. He told me back in 2021, October 2021, that he is my dad. And so, yeah. Most people in the world have a wife. Most men. I have a relationship with God. Most don't have that.